On the western coast of Italy, nestled in the shadow of a deceptively serene mountain, once thrived a bustling, vibrant Roman city unlike any other, a place of bathhouses and bakeries, frescoes and fountains, brothels and temples, laughter and labor, where the streets echoed with the clatter of chariots and the hum of daily commerce, where children played, merchants haggled, and lovers whispered under vine-draped pergolas, all under the watchful eye of Mount Vesuvius. A mountain the people of Pompeii saw not as a threat but as a silent guardian, unaware that on one fateful summer day in 79 AD, that mountain would awaken with a fury so swift, so violent, and so complete that it would erase nearly every trace of life and hours, freezing the city in a volcanic tomb that would preserve its streets, homes, bodies, and final moments for nearly 2,000 years, capturing in ash and pumice an ancient civilization mid-motion like a photograph taken by the gods themselves. And to understand Pompeii not merely as a catastrophe but as a miracle of historical preservation, we must first walk its streets before the eruption. When the city was a thriving hub of 10,000 to 20,000 people, a crossroads of cultures nestled along the Bay of Naples, founded by Oscans, shaped by Etruscans, conquered by Samnites, and finally enveloped by the expanding Roman Republic, becoming a luxurious resort town favored by wealthy Romans who constructed elaborate villas with mosaic floors, marble columns, and paintings of Dionysian revelry, while the working class lived in modest insulae and the enslaved toiled behind the scenes, and everywhere was evidence of daily life's energy. Thermopolia served hot street food to travelers. Water gushed through aqueduct-fed fountains, graffiti announced political campaigns or lovers' quarrels, and at the heart of the city stood the Forum, the political and religious nerve center flanked by the Temple of Jupiter, the Basilica, and the Macellum, and as we wander further we find bakeries with carbonized loaves of bread still in ovens, taverns with marble counters, amphitheaters that seated thousands, and intricate wall paintings depicting gods, myths, and idyllic landscapes, all frozen in time. Eerily intact thanks to the very disaster that destroyed them, for on August 24, or possibly October, according to revised archaeological evidence, Vesuvius erupted with such terrifying force that a column of ash and gas rose miles into the sky, raining pumice on Pompeii for hours, collapsing roofs and causing chaos as residents tried to flee through narrow streets already choked with debris, while some sought shelter in cellars or under staircases, only to be buried alive when the real horror arrived. Pyroclastic surges, scalding clouds of gas, ash, and rock traveling at hurricane speeds, incinerating everything in their path, vaporizing flesh, suffocating lungs, and leaving behind twisted, contorted bodies that would later become plaster casts, macabre sculptures of Pompeii's final seconds, a mother shielding her child, a man clutching his belongings, a dog chained in eternal agony, and when the eruption subsided, the city vanished beneath layers of ash and stone, forgotten by the world, its memory fading into legend, until nearly 1,700 years later, in 1748, when workers digging for a royal palace under King Charles III of Spain stumbled upon the buried remains and launched one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in human history. Gradually unearthing a city so perfectly preserved that it offered a time capsule of Roman life unmatched in scope or detail, and since then, Pompeii has fascinated generations of scholars, artists, travelers, and dreamers who peer into its ruins not just to see what was lost but to understand how life was lived, with all its beauty, complexity, and contradiction. For Pompeii was not a museum, it was a living city with brothels marked by phallic signs, private gardens adorned with erotic art, religious shrines alongside drinking dens, and slaves brushing shoulders with senators, and through the layers of ash emerge questions. Who were these people? What did they think in their final moments? Did they understand what was happening? Were they terrified, resigned, defiant? And how should we now relate to their suffering, knowing that it gave birth to our greatest historical window into antiquity? For the irony of Pompeii is that in death, it achieved a kind of immortality, allowing us to reconstruct with startling precision the sights, sounds, and even smells of a lost world, through carbonized food remnants, preserved tools, wall graffiti reading "I was here with my lover," and painted scenes of theater, gladiator fights, and market stalls. We come closer than ever to knowing the Romans not as marble busts in museums but as real people with hopes, vices, ambitions, and routines, and yet Pompeii is also a mirror, one that reflects not only ancient civilization but our own fragility, our illusion of control over nature, our tendency to forget history's warnings, for Vesuvius still looms, still active, still capable of destruction, and modern Naples thrives in its shadow just as Pompeii once did, a living echo of past hubris. And as scientists continue to unearth new discoveries, from frescoes of Narcissus to possible DNA sequences of its residents, Pompeii challenges us to balance reverence with inquiry, to honor the dead not only by preserving their memory but by learning from their fate. And so we walk its silent streets today, not merely as tourists but as time travelers, stepping over mosaic floors worn by Roman sandals, reading graffiti scratched by ancient hands, peering into homes where daily life halted in a single terrifying instant, and realizing, with quiet awe, that Pompeii did not vanish. It waited, it endured, it whispered from beneath the ash until the world was ready to listen again. And in that silence, we hear not just the tragedy of one city, but the pulse of an entire civilization forever frozen in time.